Hello everyone and welcome to my first League of Legends related video. Some people have been asking me to start making a guide about, well, I guess top lane for the most part. And yes, today I will start with that. It will be a series of small videos, and I will try to cover first the different basic stuff, and then maybe go into some more advanced things that I've learned in the, well, I guess past months. So let's start off with the Runes and Masteries for Ryze. Ryze has recently become quite popular in Korea, specifically from CJ Blaze Flame and CJ Frost Shy, and I've copied this mastery page mostly from Flame. But I've made a small change. You have 9 points in offense. The point in Summoner's Wrath, you only want to have that if you use Ignite, but I would recommend to use Ignite in almost every matchup, just to give you more strength in a one-on-one, or when your jungler comes to gank, or both junglers come to gank. Like, having Ignite really makes a big difference in fights early on and even a little later. Well, and if you do have Ignite, I think this is basically mandatory. Then I have the extra damage against minions. I think this is very useful to have, because Ryze is very bad at last hitting under the tower, and you will often get pushed into your tower early on. So I would recommend to pick this up. Then the last point in the first row, I just put that in cooldown reduction, because I mean cooldown reduction is good on Ryze, no doubt about that. And then the 4 points here, you basically just get those so you can have the 8% magic penetration, which is very nice to have. Putting more points into offense is not really like that good, because Ryze generally scales more of mana than AP, and the rest here, this is all mana based. I mean, you have like some more damage here, but I think generally it's pretty agreed on that the utility tree is better for Ryze. So here I think there's some things you could do different, like the flash cooldown, mana regeneration, faster recall. I think that's pretty standard. I guess you could take out the point of recall and put it somewhere else, like lower cooldown on activated items, for example. But I choose to get more mana. Well, that's good, more damage. Lower cooldown on your summoners, that's certainly very useful. And I mean, you need to put the points somewhere. Higher duration on buffs. I think this is a bit debatable, but generally your mid laner will like take away all your blue buffs. But if you play on blue side and your mid laner does not take away your mid laner is willing to give away the blues. For example, if you play with a pre-made team, in some cases, then maybe you should take the runic affinity. Then lifesteal and spellbomb, that's certainly a good thing to have. The biscuit is pretty nice, because oftentimes you will actually start with only 2 potions, so having a little bit of extra sustain in your lane is good to have. And then I put 2 points in the increased experience. You would make a point for putting it like in health regeneration, but I think this is usually you will just like be either at quite high health, or you just like die very fast. So I don't think you need health regeneration so much. And I guess having the 60-second ward is actually an option, and this is something I might change, because sometimes it's nice if you can just like put a ward in a bush where you are afraid that the jungler of them might be in it, and so you don't have to face check. And I mean, you would only use a slight amount of XP game. I think I will actually change that around right now that I'm thinking about it. And then of course 6% cooldown reduction, that's very good for Ryze, and the movement speed is very good for Ryze too, because he does not have a gap closer or some kind of engage, so you really need the movement speed on him. So let's go to the runes now. Here, let's start with this rune page. This is my standard rune page. It has movement speed quins. Same thing like in the utility tree. You really need movement speed on Ryze, and Yes, I mean you could get AP quins or mana quins or health quins or something like that, but generally like long term, like what really helps you in all the game is the movement speed. Something like mana or health quins, I mean they are nice early on maybe, but later on like that's pretty negligible to have a little bit more mana or a little bit more health. And then magic penetration, I think that's like the standard mark. I don't see any alternative here. Magic penetration is always good to have. Then armor, you always need that when you play top lane pretty much. Even if you play against an AP opponent, like for example Vladimir, who does almost no physical damage, you still want the armor seals, just so you have some more armor when you get ganked, because the Vladimir, you will destroy him in lane anyway, but when you get ganked you definitely want to take a little bit less damage. And then magic resistance, these I use if I need the magic resistance, but in most matchups your opponent does some magic damage at least, or maybe their jungler does magic damage. So I think if you don't have so many free rune pages, then just use this rune page, and you're good with that generally. I have another rune page where I have different glyphs. For example, if I play against, like, let's say Renekton top, and the jungler of them is like a Jarvan, for example, there's like pretty much only AD coming against me for the most part. So I prefer to have some extra mana early on, and this not only gives me more mana pool, so I can use 1 or 2 more spells maybe, but also it gives my spells more damage early on, and that's certainly better than having like some magic resistance that does not really benefit you in lane. And I think runes and masteries are something that you mostly get, like whatever is best to like get through the early levels and like try to not fall too far behind, or get a big advantage there. So the early mana that I get additionally is better than like a little bit more magic resistance later, because then later on I can just buy magic resistance if I need to. So yeah, that's it for the first video. I hope you will tune into the next one, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.